I can make you hurt. Well, it was between that and Hurt So Good, but of course, all those puns have already been played out in Tuscaloosa and Norman, Oklahoma, respectively. But the Vikings, like we said, should be in the market for a quarterback day two ish. And former Oklahoma and Alabama QB Jalen Hurts fits that bill. Now, full disclosure, and we've talked about it on this channel before, I initially thought that Hurts was just a really good college QB, probably couldn't cut it in the NFL in terms of NFL accuracy, but starting to come around. But after what he did at the Senior Bowl, as well as going back and watching a little bit more Oklahoma tape, I'm really starting to warm up to him, and I think he could be a legit day two project for the Vikings, and I'm pretty damn excited about it because, I'm always about betting on potential, and Jalen Hurts is just a ball of potentially untapped potential. So some background on him, 6'2", 225, big. Yeah, he's awesome. Former four-star recruit out of Channelview, Texas, was the number 4 dual-threat quarterback prospect in the class of 2016. Committed to Alabama. 2015 was the early enrollee, and then he started as a true freshman. Started 15 games for the Tide, as well as throwing for 2,780 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 picks, and also ran for 954 yards and 13 touchdowns. Eventually led the Tide to an undefeated season, but then lost in the national title game to Clemson 35-31, which is just, whatever. So initially, I thought very Tebow-esque, where he's a big kid, a bruiser of the runner, just had a nose for the end zone down inside the goal line, and it's great. You see a lot of these type of quarterbacks in college football. Dak Prescott was one of these guys. Taysom Hill was one of these guys. Colin Klein. Oh, Blake Bell. Remember Blake Bell, former Vikings tight end legend? He was initially a quarterback at Oklahoma. He was this type of QB as well. But, Jalen Hurts, strong arm, accuracy wasn't necessarily there early on. Only completed 62.8% of his passes and only averaged 7.3 yards per attempt his first year in Tuscaloosa. So I was like, all right, so amazing college player for sure. Maybe he'll win the Heisman. He'll probably win a couple national titles, and it'll be a great story for Alabama. And if he wants to play in the NFL, probably has to become an H-back or whatever, or even a running back. So all those things. But as a sophomore, Hurts led the Tide back to the national title game, but was benched at halftime against Georgia. By the way, it should be. When's the Big Ten national title game going to happen? When's Michigan, Ohio State for all the marbles going to happen? Just ramping up that rivalry a little bit. But he was benched at halftime in the national title game. How do you like that? In favor of true freshman. I'm trying to think of this name. Oh, Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, pretty damn decent. Is also going to be pretty involved in this year's draft coverage as well. But Tua came in, balled out, threw the game-winning touchdown overtime, all that stuff. And you would think that if you're in Jalen Hurts' shoes, you're gone, deuces, transferring, maybe down to FCS or sit out a year and just lock up somewhere else. But it just really does show Jalen Hurts' character and maturity. I mean, the grace in which he handled losing the starting job to Tua and also being benched in the biggest game of your career in favor of a true freshman. I mean, what Hurts did was amazing and really unprecedented. Just being a supportive teammate. There was never any hint of any friction between Tua and Hurts, whether his sophomore year or his junior year when Tua took over his job full time. But also the fact that he came in and he balled out in that SEC title game in his junior season when Tua got hurt and put the Tide into the playoffs. It just shows, the type of player that Jalen Hurts is, the type of teammates he is, and it's really just amazing because most kids would have thrown a hissy fit. How dare you bench me? I've taken you to 2 straight national title games. How dare you bench me in favor of this left-handed true freshman from Hawaii? Shoot. And then the dads would have been out there making the media stink and all that stuff, and then entered the transfer portal like a bunch of whiny QB2s doing college all the time. The transfer shuffle, all that stuff. But, I mean, he was a great teammate. And he supported Tua, and he did all that stuff. Graduated in 3 years, which is another great sign of maturity. It's something that you really love in your QB. And then he grad transferred to Oklahoma, where Lincoln Riley had back-to-back jacks in terms of number 1 overall picks in Baker Mayfield as well as Kyler Murray. And then Hurts came in, was automatically voted to the captain, and he lit it up his 1 year in Norman. 3,851 yards passing, 69.7% completion percentage. Nice. 32 touchdowns, 8 picks, 11.3 yards per attempt, plus 1,298 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns. Just complete bulldozer down near the goal line. It was amazing. And he ended up finishing second in the Heisman voting to Joe Burrow, which, sure, whatever. And he led the Sooners to the playoffs again, except that they got waxed. They got destroyed by Clemson, but what can you do there? And in terms of accuracy, he has greatly improved, both in terms of stats and just by the eyeball test. And he does really remind me a lot of Dak Prescott when Dak was coming out of Mississippi State, because Dak was seen as more of a dual threat quarterback. Remember, a little bit of a Tebow-esque type guy when he was coming out as a Bulldog. And then you've seen the way that Dak has progressed his couple years in the NFL. Maybe he's not that guy yet, but he certainly has come a long way. But then also, Hurts had a great Senior Bowl. Remember, he had the half Bama, half Oklahoma helmet, which they also auctioned off for charity, which, again, is phenomenal. He was voted the South team's Offensive Practice Player of the Week for quarterbacks, so it's great for him there. And I'm sure he's going to come in. He's going to be a combine freak, as well as have a great pro day at Oklahoma as well. So his draft stock is only going to be ratcheting up. So some knocks against him. I think some decision making and also playing in a pro scheme. That's something he's going to have to get better at and get used to. Can be careless at times. Sometimes Jalen Hurts will serve it up to you. And also playing in an NFL multiple progression type scheme will be new for him. But as we've seen with Lamar Jackson, where if you have a quarterback with a unique set of skills, you really do need to cater to it, as opposed to just trying to make the player fit your scheme, make your scheme fit your player. So with Hurts, you could see a lot of RPOs, a lot of single progression reads, a lot of what you see with Lamar Jackson as well as with Kyler Murray. And I think just adding that dimension is really evolving offensive football in the NFL. I think Jalen Hurts could be that type of guy as well. And with the Vikings, honestly, I think this is the perfect setup. Or the perfect type of setup for a Jalen Hurts, where if you draft Jalen Hurts in the second round, you sit him a year behind Cousins, let him soak up all that Kubiak knowledge. I'm also sure that Gary Kubiak could be thinking of some very unique things to run with Jalen Hurts, because remember, and Matt Schaub had a little bit of mobility, but also going all the way back to Shanahan, Kubiak in Denver, like Jake the Snake Plummer. You remember John Elway? John Elway was pretty fleet of foot too. And also remember Kirk Cousins when he was at his best, when he was moving outside the pocket, moving the pocket, bootlegs, all that other stuff. Jalen Hurts, that fits him to a T. But I'm going to have myself. And also just using him in spot duty as a bit of a gadgety player, similar to how the Saints have used Taysom Hill. Put him in goal line situations where it's 11 on 11 as opposed to 10 on 11 down inside the 5, and just have him run QB power. I mean, because why not at that point? And if the Vikings, after 1 year, decide to go with Cousins, sign him up to a long-term deal, or if Cousins decide to leave in free agency and go to San Francisco, which probably going to happen, Hurts is your future franchise quarterback. Boom, easy peasy lemon squeezy, and he already has a year under his belt. It's very akin to the Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes type dynamic in Kansas City a couple years ago. But with Hurts, I not only love his running ability, I'm good at English, but also his ability to buy a little bit of extra time, as well as his pocket awareness. I think that's greatly ahead of where a lot of quarterbacks are coming out of college. And plus, it really helps out an offensive line. I mean, we saw Case Keenum, who does have better pocket awareness than Cousins and does have better mobility. I mean, he made that shouty offensive line look pretty damn good in 2017. So imagine what a guy like Hurts could do behind there. Plus, as we've mentioned, he's mature, he's high character, a team-first guy with a pretty damn live arm. Now, the accuracy and anticipation, it does worry me a little bit, which is also why I think that he's going to fall to day 2, even though he checks a lot of the boxes. But as of right now, I'm pretty sold. And if Jalen Hurts is there at 58 and the Vikings are on the clock, all in. Let's do it. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Jalen Hurts, the pride of Oklahoma as well as Alabama, coming to the Vikings. Let us know in the comment section below. Also, subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you want to support the work, pull something in the Venmo, or click that join button down below and become a monthly or platinum Jerome player, as well as give us a follow on social media as well. About the next time. Skol, production value.